your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everyone. This is Locked On Coyotes. I'm Robyn Leaño, Carl Pavlock right beside me on this Wednesday. It's hump day. Hope you guys are doing well. As your Coyotes are now on their second day off after yesterday. We all of us had a day off for a little bit. Got a chance to rest all day. But unfortunately, some Coyotes players are going to be injured for quite a bit from the Panthers game. We'll talk about that on today's episode, and we'll talk about who's being called up from the Tucson Roadrunners in their place. And we'll also take a little mini preview, an early preview for Thursday's game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. All that on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. Before we get into anything, let me check in with Carl. Carl, I know yesterday, I was just saying before we started recording, yesterday was a no bonus day, so you and I both kind of rested all day. We were just like, I don't want to do much work.
Yeah, pretty much. It was definitely a rest day, I think, except for I did have to write one small article about the injuries. That was, it got a little bit more clarification on that, which tends to happen. But yeah, all rested up, ready for the game tomorrow.
Yeah, ready for the game tomorrow. Yeah, and let's go ahead and start talking about the injuries to start off with. We mentioned it yesterday when we were on with Armando of Locked On Panthers, and we cut because it was all the news was fluid at this point. We didn't know exactly what it was going to be the case, but now we know that we can go more in depth on Connor Timmins and Carter Hutton and Ryan Dzingel all being injured. Ryan Dzingel is like there is no update on his timetable at all. They don't know. There's nothing on that. Carter Hutton is going to be out. I believe was it 2 to 4 weeks.
Yep.
Connor Timmins, defenseman Connor Timmins, is going to be out. I think 11 to 12 weeks.
8
to 12. Sorry, 8 to 12 weeks. I don't know why I said 11. Yeah, 8 to 12 weeks. This is how tired I am. Yeah. So 8 to 12 week Connor Timmins will be out. So if you want to put that into timetable, that roughly puts him back sometime close to Christmas.
Yeah. Well, maybe a little bit after that, depending on how quick his recovery is.
Yeah, but that's the optimistic side.
Yeah, optimistically Christmas, which it's really unfortunate. Connor Timmins is a player whose development has really been hampered by injuries. He sustained a concussion back in juniors, and it's unfortunate to see him go down this early into the Coyote season. I don't think he looked particularly great so far. I think he was still adjusting to the new team, to the new system, which is normal. You expect that sort of thing. And it's unfortunate that we're going to see this, just really, it potentially, almost half the season being gone for him, depending on how things go. The guys aren't going to make the postseason. I expect that once he's ready, they're going to send him back to the AHL for some conditioning. He doesn't need waivers, so they could probably just put him in there full time for a bit, just to kind of make sure they can keep up to pace and play good minutes with them. But yeah, it's definitely unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, and like you said, it's just I think everything that's been going on with him is very unfortunate, especially because, like you said, his his development has been hampered by injuries, and obviously this doesn't help. And that he didn't have a good start to the season at all. I was having a conversation of that with some people in the press box when I was up in Glendale last week, and they're like, Connor Timmins. They're like, oh man, he's not been playing well. And yeah, this just is obviously a huge not good step for him.
Yeah,
and to tack on.
Yeah, and also not good for the Coyotes because the buzz for Timmons out of Colorado was really positive. It seemed like he had found the footing with that team, and I was hoping that he could step in. He's a very highly rated prospect, and that's just not going to be the case. I think one of the things that we were talking about in the Five Howling Slack chat was the only one who's benefiting from this is Kyle Capobianco, who is getting potentially going to get a chance to get some real minutes in the
Mm-hmm.
NHL, which he may not have been.
Capobianco, I think he's like slated to return at some point eventually, but
Yeah.
um, but obviously he's going to be back before Timmons is, and that's going to be huge because that gives him the opportunity to do what he's supposed to do and actually play well. And you and I have been talking about Kyle Capobianco and been saying that this is his make or break year. If the Arizona Coyotes, he's got to have a good year.
Yeah.
Once he gets back from injury, that he's going to be benefiting from Timmons being sidelined for quite a bit.
Yeah, he's got a real shot once he returns. No timetable on him yet, which normally is an indicator that it's not going to be too long. But that's definitely remains to be seen. Carter Hutton going down is definitely going to be very interesting for this team. I'm not sure what the plan is going to be. They seem to be splitting time pretty evenly between him and Vejmelka. And like, do they give Vejmelka all of the time? For the next couple games, do they give Prosvetov, who we'll be talking about in the next segment, sometime? I don't know. There'll be an interesting insight into Bears player usage, which is something that we really don't know too much about yet because he is so new.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how it all turns out. And it also kind of thing that does suck is all of these players that we're talking about in terms of the injury side, they're all the newer they're all newer players on the Coyotes, and they all have to adjust to the new system. Everyone does, and even the veterans have to adjust to the new system because it's new coach, everything is different.
Yeah.
So for Hutton to also go down, obviously, that does not help his adjustment period. And that's what this first month, let's say, is supposed to be for. But yeah, it doesn't help.
And it was really disappointing because I thought that Hutton's best period was probably his first period against the Panthers. That one goal, very unfortunate, but not too much he could do with that. Really could have used some help clean out the front of the net. And I don't even really know what happened with that. The Timmons injury, it was pretty clear. He went down hard. There was definitely it seemed like when he was hit by is it Goudas? I keep wanting to call him Gouda because of the cheese, but that's not right. But there was definitely some neon knee area
Right.
contact, and that's what pissed off Dzingel so much. That's what led to him going to that fight because it wasn't just a big hit; it was a big hit that did damage, and that's when you just jump up and drop the gloves.
Yeah, it was interesting because Hutton really was able to finish the period. He just didn't come back.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. There's oh yeah, Beige Mocha's coming out. Huh? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just oh, what happened? And then the second period progressed, and it's oh wow, there's another major injury. Guess we're not gonna really remember Hutton. He kind of dropped off the face of the earth because 3 injuries in one game. That's just a lot.
Yeah, and that goes and that brings us to the for the last one with Ryan Dzingel, who was he was getting a little pushy in there. I mean, he's getting physical. So is it surprised that happened? Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument, but I mean, and again, he's the lightest one we're talking about because we don't know his timetable. It could be as little as a week, or it could be as much as half the season.
Yeah.
Because we just don't know.
Yeah, it could literally be he could be ready tomorrow. We don't know. They haven't given any information yet, which could be a sign that like it's really minor, it's day to day, they're not sure. Could be they needs to get like a check with a specialist. Like I'm sure we'll find out more. It's possible that by the time you're listening to this, we know more and we'll know for sure. But yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, but to play out on the safe side, the Arizona Coyotes have recalled 3 players from the Tucson Roadrunners. We will talk about who those 3 players are coming up in just a sec. But first, we got a word from Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar in the land. Did you know that there are so many different flavors, from cherry barcia to double chocolate, mint brownie, all stuff like that? It is absolutely phenomenal. One of my favorite protein bars out there, absolutely. Including their paranormal pumpkin, which was available during this October. It was absolutely delicious. Filled with marshmallow. Absolutely amazing. But the best part is they're not only delicious, but they also amazingly healthy. They're low in calories, high in protein, low in carbs, low in sugar, all the things that you want out of a really good protein bar. And I want you guys to try it yourself. Go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15. You get 15% off your order. Once again, go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your Built Bar. All right, so now let's start talking about the recalls. The Arizona Coyotes have made 3 recalls from the Tucson Roadrunners. They have recalled forward Barrett Hayton, defenseman Cam Dineen, and goalie Ivan Prosvetov. Let's go ahead and start with let's go in order from there. Let's start with Barrett Hayton.
Sure.
This is I'm going to tell you right now. I think this is his opportunity to show what he can do back again in the NHL level. He was floating back and forth last year. I mean, he played through, I want to say, February with the Coyotes, and then he got sent down to Tucson because he wasn't developing well. He wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. But now this is his first shot back up again. And let's see if enough time in Tucson has helped him.
I think the team was hoping to give him a little bit more time in Tucson,
Yeah.
which to me kind of maybe suggests that Dzingel is not going to be out too long because he hasn't had too much of a chance. He hasn't like really popped on the score sheets. I've heard people kind of mention that he looked pretty okay. Craig Morgan, when he tweeted it, mentioned that when he was talking to, I think it was either Bill Armstrong or Bear before the Columbus Blue Jackets game, like a nightmare scenario would be calling up Barrett Hayton like too early, which we're kind of maybe in a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's a chance for him to really show what he can do. And if he's got another gear to like maybe like show it and be like, hey, I know you guys wanted me to go down there for more time, but I don't need it, and here's what I can do. Like we see that all the time. Like players who are temporary call ups just steal the spotlight, and you know, is that going to be Hayton? Not sure, but we'll see.
I was actually somewhat surprised that it was Hayton, given that there were some stars over the weekend, and who just playing for the Roadrunners in the last couple of weeks, who have been playing better than Hayton have.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you're picking this guy mainly because he is their highest level prospect
Yeah.
right now still. So it kind of makes sense. It's like, oh, so you're supposed to be the next man up. And it does, and I think the best part is, if I'm going to be honest, this also hurts the Roadrunners the least at this point.
Yeah. Well, also, let's just say this: Christian Fischer has been playing center this year, and I think Christian Fischer is a much better player last season than he has been in all of his NHL career. I'm fine with him playing center. I think he has been doing that pretty well. But if we're slotting Hayton in as a center, maybe that's like a positional need for the team as well. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure. There's reasons to call him up. Um, to me, there are reasons to call him up like short term versus long term. So I'm really curious to see what kind of happens with that. And it doesn't mean that he is going to be the last one up. He's not waiver. He doesn't need to go through waivers. So the Coyotes may go through like a bunch of players. Give them all a cup of coffee, as the expression goes. Like, get that NHL pay, because
There's
when you're in the NHL, you get more money.
there's a good reason why the Arizona Coyotes bought the what is it, the Springfield Thunderbirds or whatever it was, and then
It's
um,
Springfield Falcons.
Falcons, because the Thunderbirds are now an ECHL team,
Yeah.
but they bought Springfield, brought them over to Tucson to create the Tucson Roadrunners because it's easy as just driving down the I-10 when on a call up, or driving up the I-10 for that
Yeah.
matter.
I mean, they're on a road trip now, so that's not entirely benefiting
True,
them.
yeah, but you know what, you get
Yeah.
the idea. That when they come back, it'll be that shit. But the road trip is gonna be it's a little bit different. Um,
It's also easy for the staff to go down and evaluate it. So, like, if Bill Armstrong wanted to see like how everyone's going, he could have headed down to Tucson on Sunday. They put it on Sunday, correct? Uh,
Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, yeah. I imagine you wanted to watch the Islanders game, but you could have gone down on Sunday. You could have watched and you could have seen, and maybe you saw something that we didn't. I know I didn't personally watch the game. I believe you weren't able to go to that one, so is that correct?
Yeah, I
Or
wasn't able to go to that Sunday one because I was in my post-test self-quarantine.
yeah, so maybe he saw something cool, and we're getting the chance to see Hayton. It'll be interesting to see if he draws in tomorrow.
It will be interesting to see if he draws in tomorrow, but we'll have to see. Obviously, we won't know until line rushes at morning skate. They'll kind of give us an idea of who's going to be starting, but that's not until for another day. So
Yeah.
we'll have to wait until we find that out. But that, of course, Barrett Hayton wasn't the only call up. Let's now move to defenseman Cam Dineen, the second defenseman to get called up from the Roadrunners. Him and Dyson Mayo. This is an interesting one.
Yeah. I got the Tucson Roadrunner stats page pulled up. Cam has played 4 games, has a goal, 2 assists, 3 points. One of 3 players on the Roadrunners with 3 points. Only defenseman. He definitely seems like he was ready to be the first call up for this. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. He's definitely been like kind of a borderline player, NHL, AHL for the past couple seasons. Um, we talked in the previous segment about this being Capobianco's shot, but Dineen impresses. Maybe it's his shot too.
I mean, we kind of been talking about defenseman depth too throughout the Coyotes organization, and there's an example of it. I got a chance to watch Dineen on Saturday, and just overall Coyotes players, and Coyotes prospects, and I was like, and I wasn't paying attention to Dineen specifically, but
Sure.
occasionally he'll do something, and I'm like, he's doing pretty well. He's skating well. I like it. Obviously, my focus was on like um, Ben McCartney and Liam Kirk and Barrett Hayton and all those people because the forwards are the ones I'm paying attention to the most.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the Coyotes are they have a lot of defensemen. We were having some difficulty in picking who would be on the roster. I thought Soderstrom would have gone down, and they would have gone with Provlev, which to me, this call up says that Provlev still needs some time to adjust to NHL or to North American ice.
yeah, it's interesting because he actually he made the final roster too, and like for the first, and then he was like on like 2 days in, he was just like, oh nope, sent back down.
Yeah, yeah. But he looked, I thought, pretty solid in preseason. Very physical. Which, if the Coyotes I sometimes feel like a team you sustain 3 injuries, you want to get someone physical in there. But it'll be kind of interesting to see. Another player, I'm very curious to see who draws in. Is it going to be Mayo? Is it going to be Dineen? We'll see tomorrow.
We will have to see. And I think it'll be interesting to see two two Roadrunners players like that in defense be up there in Mayo and Dineen, guys that I've got a chance to watch in Tucson for quite some time. So we'll see, which one of those gets the draw. It'll be very, very interesting. That brings us to the last call up, though. Ivan Prosvetov, the goalie, This one, of course, was no surprise once Hutton went down. You're like, who's the next person up? It's no question that Prosvetov is a better goalie than Josef Korenar.
Sure.
So like, it was a no-brainer call up to do that one. Prosvetov is a much better goalie.
I will say this though. I think the fact that Hutton being out 1 to 2 weeks definitely influenced that. If he had been long term, I think we would have probably seen Prosvetov stay down just so he can get more consistent starts.
Right.
It was something that we've talked about before. Like, where's the best place for Ivan Prosvetov this season? In the AHL.
Yeah.
Give him a cup of coffee. Have him play like a couple games up in with the Coyotes for 2 weeks. Send him back to the AHL to get consistent time. If there's like a delay, if Hutton's like re-injures himself, I honestly see them making a switch and just
Yeah.
being like, no, we're gonna have you full time AHL starter, and we're gonna bring up some
Korenar.
Korenar. Uh, but yeah, I'm happy with it. I would like to see him get a chance to play. I would have liked to have seen him get a chance to play more last season. Thank you very much, Coach Dockett, for playing him one game and starting Hill 11 straight. But he's at this point the future of the Coyotes goaltending, and I'm very curious to see what he can do.
Is that this is the opportunity for us to see that? Because I mean, yeah, they're probably going to give more nods to Vejmelka because but for that purpose, you're saying just like really only do it on a necessity basis for the next 2 weeks. Again, it's it's a very short term injury, so like you don't have to worry about it much.
Yeah.
But again, he'll get a couple opportunities, especially because there's a back to back coming up this week. The Lightning on Thursday and the Capitals on Friday.
Oh yeah. Which I mean, like that's kind of like the worst case scenario. Who do you start against the Lightning? Vizmelka or Prosvetov? Like that's like neither of those are the goalies that I would want starting
I
against the
mean, the
Lightning.
Lightning have been struggling to start the season.
Yes, but they're still the Tampa Bay
But
Lightning.
they're still the Tampa Bay Lightning. Don't get me wrong. And then they'll probably still run circles around Arizona. We'll go into our little mini preview coming up just a sec. But I mean, you gonna do that compared to the Capitals and Alex Ovechkin? Like,
Yeah. It's a tough call either way. Like I would have much preferred like Prosvetov starting like the end of the year after he's had like a full, or like if we were playing the Ducks, which we will at the end of the road trip, but not right now. Like that's ideally where I would have like had him play, had him get that start. But he's a trial by fire, which is just what happens in the NHL.
you know what I'm trying to figure out? I'm trying to figure out this Coyotes road trip and that looking at the like based off what their flight path would look like. They were just in Florida. Now they're going to Tampa. Then straight to DC, then back down south to Carolina,
Yeah.
then back up to Philadelphia.
It's definitely a lot of like back and forth. Luckily, same time zone, so like that should hopefully make travel a little bit easier for them. They're not having to deal with too much jet lag, but yeah, it would have been worse if it was like Florida to California, back to Florida, or like yeah, that would have been just crazy. And we've seen that. It's a tough road trip for the Coyotes, but at least like travel hopefully won't be the worst thing for them.
Yeah, hopefully that's that's the case. But let's get ready to preview the Coyotes versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. We will give our first initial thoughts in the next segment, but first we do have to get a word from our sponsors.
We're back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball and football and hockey action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Okay, so back here on Locked On Coyotes, once again, Robyn Leaño and Carl Pavlock on this wonderful hump day. Hope you guys are getting through this week. I'm trying to. We'll see. It's time now to give our little first thoughts for the Coyotes versus the Lightning. I kind of mentioned it in the previous segment, Carl. This is an interesting one because, yes, it's still the Tampa Bay Lightning, and like I said in the previous segment, but they've been struggling.
Yeah, they've been struggling. They're still a highly skilled team. The Coyotes cannot take them lightly. They're going to need to definitely clean things up. They looked good in the third period against the Panthers, not so much in the first two. I would like to see them carry that energy. They're playing down a couple men, so like that can hopefully give them some motivation to win one for the hurt players. Definitely need to tighten things up on special teams because that was a pretty big issue for the Coyotes in the last game. I think most importantly is just neutral zone play.
Yep.
The Florida Panthers really shut down the neutral zone, and it kept the Coyotes in their own end, and it kept them from getting any kind of offensive zone time.
On the Lightning side, looking at this, they just finished a back-to-back, so they have now today off because based on time you guys are listening to this. Yesterday they played the Pittsburgh Penguins and won that game 5-1. And then before that, the day before, they played the Buffalo Sabres and lost that one 5-1.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Buffalo Sabres this year. It's really weird. I do not think it's going to last. I think the Lightning are a better team than the Sabres, so it's hockey though, and any team could really win any individual game. It just
Yep.
matters over a long term. That's why it's something we occasionally bring up with the odds. They're not really changing too much yet because no one's got a good idea of what the teams are. And if you ask a hockey person, like, who's going to win this game? You're like, probably Tampa Bay. They're like, how confident are you? And 52% confident, maybe 60. Not really too much beyond that. But
Unless
they've
you're an
won more than
analytics person, and then
um, yeah, unless you have a very good statistics model, and you're keeping track of all this, and you paid attention in college stats classes. I did not. I had to take one 300 level for my psych degree, and I barely got through it. So smarter, more analytically minded people than I am can know that. But uh, yeah, it's tough.
I
Those are
rely on
also
others. I rely on others to do the advanced stats for me, and then I just take a look at it and kind of use my own hockey brain to figure it out.
Yeah, and there's also a difference. There's the publicly available advanced stats that you and I have access to that we'll look at, and then there's just proprietary, secret, tweaked statistical models that the professionals use, the teams use, and I know oftentimes a lot of the more analytically minded people, they're like, yeah, these are my public numbers, these are my private numbers that I use for betting. And I'm like, oh, those private numbers, I bet those are very complicated.
Are you calling
And
out Jay Fresh?
I was actually going with Dom.
Okay,
But yeah, no,
or both.
I like honestly both of them. Kudos. I just look at everything and it's just oh man, I wish I had that access.
But see, that's the thing. Is for me, I'll take what I can get from Jay Fresh. I'll take what I get from Dom. I'll take what I can get from Natural Stat Trick, from Money Puck, from every site out there, and I'm like, okay, this gives me X amount of an understanding. I can make at least a pretty well educated guess on how the game's going to go.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest. The reason that they have sets of private numbers is A, to maintain competitive advantage. B, they're gambling on this, and they don't want a whole lot of people to know what they know, because that will affect the odds for them. And I mean, that's how it works sometimes. I think sports betting has made a very interesting like side career in being very analytically minded, and it'll be curious to see how that continues to evolve in the coming seasons.
Yeah, I will say though, my betting has been mediocre. It hasn't been great, but I
Yeah.
haven't been doing terrible. So
I think you said last time to bet the under for the Panthers.
I did say
And
bet the under, but I did say the Panthers would get the. I did say bet the money the puck line on the Panthers.
uh,
Um,
the empty netter that saved you.
I know the empty netter did save me.
Yeah. Before the Coyotes like made their comeback, I was like, "Oh yeah, 3-1. That's how this game's gonna end." And it's like, "Oh, what? Phil Kessel and Liam O'Brien getting goals? Look at that craziness!"
I know in 34 seconds too. Wow, what a freaking game that was.
Yeah, they just need to do that period for a full 60 minutes, and hopefully they can. Maybe they were just jet lagged, you know, and they're not gonna have that. Like I said, they're sticking to the East Coast. They're not traveling from Arizona.
Hey, one positive thing that I'll mention before we close things off for today's show and in a preview of the Tampa Bay Lightning is they don't have any former Coyotes players who may have a chip on their shoulder.
Oh, that's the best. Like the former Coyotes have just been like out to get the team, and I get it because like if you're Max Domi, if you're Anthony Duclair, team traded you away, you want to make them regret it. And I can appreciate that. That is something that hockey players have. Like you do not get to be an NHL hockey player without that kind of dedication and that kind of view of yourself where you're like, no, I deserve to be here, and you doubted me, and I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, I don't always have that drive. Hockey players need to have it 24/7 to be the highest level of athlete.
Exactly. But I think that's roughly about the amount of the preview we'll get. We will have a full in-depth preview coming up on tomorrow's episode, coming out the morning of game day. So be sure to stay tuned for that once it becomes available. Obviously, if you're subscribed, you will know. But that will do it for today's episode. Hope you guys like what you heard. If you did, don't forget to leave a review, a like, a comment. Subscribe if you've yet to already. We are available everywhere you get your podcast, now including YouTube. Also, don't forget to remember this on social media. We are at LO_Coyotes. I am now at Robyn_Leaño. Carl Pavlock is at Carl Pavlock FFH. Again, you can follow us, interact with us, ask us a question you might have, and we'll answer them on a future episode of the podcast, potentially. If you actually ask us a question, we will. And yeah, I mean, again, we just love interacting with our fans. Sometimes, as an example, you had one guy asked, listen to our podcast on our discussion about Korean barbecue, and he asked us if we like banchan. I said I do because I had one back home.
And
But
it gave me a spot to check out in Tempe. So
exactly. So thanks for that for that call out and just talking with us about that. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.